Hello and welcome to Gillityr Games. Recently, Coffee Stain Studios announced the release date of Satisfactory to be September 10, 2024. As you are likely already aware, Satisfactory has been available on Steam in early access and has received many updates since that time. In this video, I will go over a prototype drone city built in early access, and I will share some mistakes I have made as well as my plans for release. The intent is not to tell anyone how to play Satisfactory, but instead to simply inspire your own creations, so let's get into it. What if I told you there is a way to build the majority of your logistics systems using drones, and they have some very fun differences to enjoy over traditional train logistics? That is what I am going to cover in this video. In a more traditional Satisfactory build, trains are used as the primary means of moving raw materials and products around the map. Drones are used to move small amounts of difficult to retrieve or faraway resources. Drones serve this purpose just fine. When I set out to build a drone-focused infrastructure, I decided to build differently. I set out to maximize the advantages of drones. To my surprise, the approach worked far better than I expected. Let's take a look at the advantages and disadvantages of a drone infrastructure. Warning: drones are not a drop-in replacement for trains. If you already have a train-heavy infrastructure, it can be very difficult to simply replace all your trains with drones. These two methods of logistics require different approaches to maximize efficiency. Be warned that drones are not unlocked until late game, so you will have to either start with trucks and trains and rework the early infrastructure once drones are unlocked, or, if the option exists at release, simply start with all technology unlocked. I chose to start by using trains, and once drones were available, I implemented my long-term plan of a drone paradise. To utilize a lot of drones, you will need to build a serious battery manufacturing facility. I do not see this as an actual disadvantage, but more of something you may not initially realize if you only have experience with train-centered logistics. Drones drastically reduce the need for conveyor and monorail spaghetti. For any given resource node, such as iron ore, an extractor can be built and sent to a small constructor factory where the iron is made into a component such as screws or a reinforced iron plate. These finished goods can then be sent up to the roof, where an empty drone pad provides those goods to one or more factories that need them. Expanding is easy. When more of that product is needed, building a duplicate facility on another iron ore resource node is easy and requires no additional monorails nor conveyors. Drones enable assembly and manufacturing facilities to be placed anywhere on the map. No need to locate them near train stations. In fact, all assembly and manufacturing factories need is power. Drone pads on the roof can be configured to fetch needed components and can be changed at any time to fetch from a different provider. Because all components are made available via drone pads, that means new site development can first drop in a site fetcher drone, where you can fetch all needed materials for the job site. No more loading up on materials before heading out to a new site. All you ever need is what it takes to build the site fetcher blueprint. I cannot stress how many times when working on train builds that I loaded up on materials and traveled across the map only to find I was missing some building materials. Drones solve this issue. There are over 30 different components needed to construct the various buildings in early access. To get all of those materials in one place using a train and conveyor environment is always a challenge and always results in massive collections of train lines and conveyor bundles that quickly become unwieldy. However, in a drone infrastructure, it is possible to create a design center or product mall anywhere you want with one drone pad on the roof and a fetcher drone. One drone can be used to fetch all materials from any location on the map. There are claims floating around on forums and YouTube about how drones consume too much electricity. I will debunk this myth later when we take a look at the power plants and energy consumption of my entire build. There are also claims of how drone throughput is too low for them to be useful. Again, this build is proof that not only is throughput fine, it comes with additional benefits over the alternatives. One caveat: if you intend to build everything continuously into a ticket sink, you may need a different approach. I consider this a waste and only build items as they are needed. All this said, I am not against trains. On the contrary, I enjoy building with trains and drones using multiple different strategies. Each come with advantages and disadvantages and problems that need solutions. All their disadvantages can be overcome easily. Each approach produces a different kind of industrial hellscape, and all are fun and interesting to build. Here is a typical resource processing facility. This extractor is pulling copper ore out of the ground. The copper ore travels along the conveyor to the lower floor where smelters convert the copper ore to copper ingots. The floors above make copper sheet out of the ingots via constructors. The copper sheet is sent to the roof where a drone pad makes the copper sheet available to other facilities. This same approach is utilized for all single material components such as iron rods, screws, and concrete. Each floor of this facility is made from a blueprint. Only one blueprint is needed for one or more floors of smelters and a second blueprint for one or more floors of constructors, depending on the resource node's maximum output. The goal is always to consume everything the resource node can provide. Once there are a few of these resources made available to drones, the site fetcher can be used to provide the materials needed for a new factory. Here is an untapped resource node. First, route power to the site. All you need to have on you are the materials needed to build a drone fetcher blueprint and a drone. Drop the drone fetcher blueprint in place and add a drone to the landing pad. The attached container can hold supplies until you are ready to use them. Now give the drone orders to go pick up the first resource needed. Once the drone launches, you can set the drone route to empty, so it only retrieves one round trip of supplies. When the drone returns, simply send it out for more supplies as needed. Sometimes when building large foundations, leaving the drone set to make multiple round trips for concrete and iron plate may be helpful. Once the site is completely built, the drone fetcher and drone can be disassembled. The drone fetcher concept can be applied to make a product mall or dedicated design center. Simply install a drone on the roof connected to a lift and smart splitters to sort products into containers. Build around a blueprint machine and you can have everything needed to make blueprints all in one building. Although this design center is functional for small blueprints, I found the available blueprint space too small to be practical. A mod exists that can provide a larger blueprint space of up to 12 by 12 foundations. For release, I intend to build a larger design center to accommodate. For now, I have placed a couple of the modified larger blueprint spaces next to this building. I have labeled each container with a visual aid to help quickly locate the materials inside. All build gun materials are available for use here. Containers are used as a trash dump which is connected to a ticket sink. Any unexpected arrival materials are sorted into a special container. This is only needed if something unexpected happens. Let's take a look at the map so we can see approximate locations of the major parts of the build. Drone City is located in the northwest corner. The turbo fuel power plants are on the west coast. Batteries are produced near the eastern swamps, just off the coast, and are hauled by train to Drone City. Scattered throughout the map are various raw material processing facilities where single material components are built, such as wire, cable, screws, iron rods, and others. Now let's get down to street level to get a closer look, as we exit the design center. Each of the factories on this street house only one type of machine, either assemblers or manufacturers. The drone pads on the roof are configured to retrieve either components needed for assembly or batteries for the drones themselves. One drone pad is configured for the assembled product for other facilities to come and retrieve. All of these buildings are built from blueprints. Let's head inside the assembly facility where stators are built. As you can see, this facility contains only assemblers. Although this specific building is configured to make stators, the same blueprint can be placed down and configured to make other components. Since assemblers always need a maximum of 2 incoming components and output exactly 1 component, I was able to build the blueprint to cover all assembly needs. 2 drone pads bring in the needed components, one brings in batteries and the other is for the outgoing product. Conveyance is placed on a utility floor below or above. Here's a view of the drone pads on the roof of the assembly facility. This assembly facility sends out drones when it needs steel pipe, wire, or more batteries for the drones. The steel pipe comes from a facility elsewhere on the map, as does the wire. These items are produced on site where the resource nodes are located and have empty drone pads on the roof for any assembly or manufacturing facility to retrieve what they need. Multiple wire and steel pipe facilities are built to supply a mixture of assembly and manufacturing facilities to keep up with growth as needed. These blueprints are very brutalist and were only created to prove out the prototype. I apologize for the lack of design effort and poor lighting. When the game releases, I can create my final layout with more effort toward pleasing the eye. If we take a short walk from the design center, just down a couple streets, we can take a quick look at how the assembly facilities use a similar approach. The most significant difference is that manufacturers can require up to 4 input components, which results in the need for a total of 6 drone pads on the roof. As a result of using a complete drone logistics system, each assembly and manufacturing facility is free to be placed anywhere on the map. All it needs is power. Although I chose to build a city, it is not required. The streets were originally sized and prepared for trucks, though I have no need for them when using this strategy. Here we are building heavy modular frames. Conveyors were haphazardly thrown into place on this blueprint. At release, it is my intent to use a blueprint that utilizes dedicated conveyance floors similar to the assembly facility shown earlier. Computers are built just across the street. As a general rule, when I play this game, I do not configure facilities to produce continuously just to sync it all for tickets. Instead, all facilities produce only when product is needed. Small output buffer containers and tanks are used to provide protection against sudden increases in demand. Both assembly and manufacturing facilities simply rely on the drone pad as a buffer and produce goods only until the buffer is full. Two different train routes are used to support this city. The green train station is used to import hydrogen via train car. Hydrogen is used to produce cooling systems and fused modular frames in the 2 buildings seen in the background. The red train station provides batteries from a manufacturing facility in the swamps where sulfur and bauxite were available during early release. Note that some resource nodes are expected to change in the release version, so I will need to make slight changes in my overall plan. Let's get a closer look at the train stations and trains running through the city. I build my stations on a parallel track, off the main line so other trains can pass while loading and unloading cargo. Switches and signals are used to control safe train flow. Depending on the route, trains can take 3 to 6 minutes to make a full trip. For some routes, additional trains are placed on the same track to increase resource flow as needed. You can see to the left, I color code certain foundations when planning layouts. This helps me determine if I have enough space for future facilities and also makes it easier when placing a blueprint. We will wait here for the next battery train and take it down to the swamp battery facility. The oncoming train is the blue line. The blue train does not stop in Drone City, it simply passes through. The blue train brings coal and silica to the battery facility to help with aluminum processing, which is used for batteries. Here comes another green train, carrying hydrogen. This train is the one we want to catch a ride on. It will bring us to the swamp where batteries are made. Coming up on the left, you can see our source of hydrogen. We will stay on the main line and continue on. That particular hydrogen source is so close it would be easy to simply pipe the hydrogen right into the city. However, I took it on as a good way to test train throughput instead. The white buildings are limestone processing facilities. Concrete is produced there for use in bases, concrete walls, and encased steel beams. Coming up after the switch, you can see the red signal telling the train to slow down. Although we cannot see it, there is another train up ahead. The signals help to prevent train collisions and derailments. Our train has to wait until the signal is green to proceed. Screws and iron rods are made up here in the left. The floors of each building are blueprints, so the floors of constructors can be stacked up as needed with simple conveyor lifts on the outside to connect the floors together. An empty drone pad is placed on the roof to make the components available to any facility that needs them. Here we can see the train is entering the swamp. The battery facility is just ahead. This battery facility can produce 240 batteries per minute continuously. At that rate, even when all drones are operational, there is a small amount of capacity to spare. 95% of all products are being built, including all components needed for the space elevator. This means that for release, a battery facility around 300 or even 500 per minute may be needed depending on my throughput plans and new things to do that are a part of the released game. Even 500 batteries per minute is easy to achieve with the available resources on the map. A drone pad is made available for battery pickup here for facilities closer to this area, and another is attached to the train station in Drone City. That allows each facility to choose a battery source that is closest, to save round-trip time. Let's make a fast jump over to our primary power plant so we can see what generates all the power needed for this prototype. Multiple oil resource nodes exist in the west coast of the map. This node produces a maximum of 600 cubic meters per minute. All of that oil is consumed and converted to turbo fuel for use in generators to make power. This one pipeline of oil plus some sulfur and water combine to produce approximately 25,000 megawatts of electricity. 2 additional power plants similar to this one are running along this coastline for a total of over 75,000 megawatts. Additional power is provided by geothermal generators and a few legacy power plants that were used early game before the turbofuel alternate recipe was discovered. I have started work on a more vertical offshore oil refinery platform blueprint that takes up less ground space for use after release. It is my assumption that since blueprints are portable between saves now, that we will be able to import blueprints from early access into the release version of the game. Additionally, the power output of the fuel generators have been changed for release and should produce even more power per unit. Turbo fuel power plants refineries provide a solid power foundation until nuclear energy can be harnessed and its waste handled in a reasonable way. At the power pole, you can see that we have a lot of room for growth. We are currently consuming less than 30,000 megawatts. If all equipment were to be running at the same time, the demand would only be 60,000 megawatts. Since we are producing over 85,000 megawatts, this strategy is solid. You may have heard some claims of how drone pads use too much electricity. To that I say, nonsense. I have covered the major parts of this prototype build. I hope this video helps to inspire your own creations. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe.